Hey guys, Matt Bell here with another Improv for Violinists lesson. I want to give a special shout out to the kids at Westport Middle School who've been watching these videos as part of a class project. You guys are awesome. I love your videos. You guys are all going to be really big stars someday. You guys keep listening to Mr. Zilish and you're gonna do just fine, okay? Last week we talked about how and why we might hold out some long notes across changes, kind of letting the chords do the work for us. The problem that holding a note can be, well, boring. But good soloists do it all the time. So how do they make it work? There's a couple techniques that we can use to make those long notes interesting. First one I want to talk about is bending. Guitar players use this all the time. And this is an area where we string players have capabilities that guitar players would kill for. So let's learn what guitar players do. All right? That'll help us understand what our ears are used to hearing, and then we can work within that convention and blow it out of the water when we want to. So a guitar player can only bend one way, and that's up. He's going to pick a note, and he's going to push the string across the fretboard, and that's going to bend the note up. Okay? Bend up, push it across. The problem is a guitar player at best can bend maybe a minor third, depending on how heavy the strings are and how strong their hands are. I'm not really a guitar player. These are pretty heavy strings. I'm not going to be able to bend this thing very far, okay? But you've heard a guitar player bend down, right? Well, how do they do that? So what they do is they pre-bend the note. I'll bend this first, and then I'll pick it. Told you I wasn't a guitar player. One more time. Okay, so you can hear it bending down. They have to pre-bend that note. And what that does, it makes them have to plan ahead a lot. We don't have to do any of that, right? So let's talk about what we can do. We don't bend strings by pushing them across the fingerboard. We slide up and down the string. So we're only limited by the bow on one end. I'm going to push the bow right off the strings. I've been too far. And the nut at the other end. So let's see, if I want to play an E note on open D, on the D string, I can only bend as far as the nut. But if I do plan ahead a little, I can play that same note on a G string. Right? So I can bend all the way down to an open G. Now, and I can bend all the way up to where I'm pushing the bow off the string. Now, we're going to do a lot of these massive slides and bends and solos. Probably not, but the capability's there. And do guitar players really need to bend more than a minor third? Rarely. In fact, most of their bends are a lot less than that. Why? Let's think about the three of a chord. If I play a C sharp and an A chord, that gives me A major, right? It's a happy chord. If I play a C natural in that same chord, that gives me an A minor. It's a sad chord. So the simple half step, right? It takes me a long way on the emotional spectrum. Remember that soloing is all about conveying feeling and emotion. Now, what if I want to convey a feeling that's a little more uncertain, a little more vague, unsettled, or maybe a little more nuanced than happy or sad? I can manipulate the intonation on that three. What if I sort of wander between C sharp and C natural? Sort of hang out in a little more of an ambiguous area. It's a three, but gosh, is that a natural three or a minor three? I'm not really sure. And if there's chords changing underneath me, that ambiguity starts to get really complex with the way that it can convey feeling. So that's a way to use bends to make long notes interesting, okay? Now you can sit on any note pretty much, but let's think about maybe sitting on a 1, okay? And we tend to use the odd numbers, 1, 3, 5, and 7. So, and then we tend to work on those notes and then maybe just a half to a whole step below that. So let's think about the 1. If I'm sitting on the 1, and I bend that down, I can start getting down into the 7 territory, right? A major 7, which a half step down, is really jazzy. a 1 is really settled. So if I want to sort of maybe work between, settled and jazzy, remember we talked about tension release. I can create some tension and release it all by just sort of holding that one note out. Okay, the 3, the major 3 and the minor 3 are half step apart. I can sort of manipulate the space between major and minor by bending that note. Okay, 5, the 5 is the second most stable note we have, but the flat 5 is what we call the blue note. So so if I want to come in that 5 note, I can go from really stable to pretty bluesy. And on the 7, if I'm working on a flat 7 and I want to bend down to like the 6, that gives me a little bit more of sort of a pentatonic feel, okay? So I can really work those odd numbered notes, and let's give an example here. Let's just play, this will be an A. I'm going to play the 1. I'm going to manipulate the 1. See what we're able to do with just one note? We're able to really make that note do something. I mean, that was almost 20 seconds of just one note, and it didn't ever feel boring. It didn't ever feel like, gosh, is he done with that note? Okay, so that's one way we can really sort of make a long note work for us, is by bending the pitch sort of in and out of something that feels stable into something that feels a little more nuanced. Okay, we can also use vibrato. Maybe I can hold a note. Right? So by not using vibrato and then switching to vibrato, it's fine. There's also some maybe these rock vibratos. So we can convey like aggression and intensity, or we can invoke something really pretty just by sort of switching up our vibrato, same note. Okay, volume, because we've got this thing, this bow instead of a pick, it allows us to control the whole envelope of the note. So we're able to make that note really speak and do things with us. Another way is harmonics. You've probably heard this. We can, I'll show you here, we can watch my finger. I'm going to pick it up a little bit. So just by picking that finger up, just taking a little tension off that string, I can start easing into that harmonic area, and I can sort of work that in and out. So I'm in a harmonic, I'm not in a harmonic, I'm able to make that work for me, okay? Your homework this week is to practice some techniques for making your long notes more interesting. Bends, swells, vibrato, harmonics. Bonus points if you come up with some stuff other than what we just talked about. Your violin, your viola, your cello is an ideal instrument for milking these long notes just based on how we make sound. So let's use that to our advantage when we're soloing, okay? See you next time.